وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين إمام المتقين قائد الغر المحجلين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We have reached the part about the spirit of fasting in Imam Ghazali's book about the mysteries or the secrets of fasting. It is it is a small part from his book إحياء علوم الدين. نفعنا الله بعلومه في الدارين يا رب العالمين. And after he explains the different types of fasting, the fasting of the general public, the awam, fasting of the khawas, the select, and fasting of the khawas. Al-khawas is the elite among those who Allah selected, and showed how the conditions or the requirements for the fasting of the selects are much more stringent and higher than those of the awam. And the awam, the requirement is that they stop eating or drinking and not engage in sexual relations. But for the khawas, there are 6 requirements that they have to abide by to safeguard all their senses, their hands, their feet, from engaging in anything that is not acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the fasting of the elite is to safeguard, the elite amongst the select is to safeguard their hearts from anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from being attached or to give attention to anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breaks their fast. So after that, now we are reaching the part about Ruh al-Siyam, which is the spirit of fasting, the essence of fasting. فإن قلت, he said, فمن اقتصر على كف شهوة البطن والفرج وترك هذه المعاني فقد قال الفقهاء صوم صحيح. So some, he said, may say that the jurisprudent scholars, the fuqaha, for them, the first type of fasting, if a person actually abstains from eating or drinking or sexual relations, for them that constitutes a correct fast. But he said, so the jurisprudence would say his fast is correct. So why is it? Yani basically he's saying, if anybody, Imam Ghazali is saying, if anybody objects to what we're saying by saying the jurisprudence will sign off on the first type of fast. So what are you saying? فاعلم أن فقهاء الظاهر يثبتون شروط الظاهر بأدلة هي أضعف من هذه الأدلة التي أوردناها في هذا الشروط. Said no, that the scholars of jurisprudence, of the outer aspect of Sharia, they affirm their conditions, the outer conditions they require is much weaker than the conditions we have been talking about, the inner conditions. They say, for example, لا سيما الغيبة, for example, غيبة وأمثالها, backbiting and such. ولكن ليس إلى فقهاء الظاهر من التكليفات إلا ما يتيسر على عموم الغافلين المقبلين على الدنيا. But he's saying what the fuqaha of jurisprudence, the conditions that they talk about only apply to the general public. The heedless ones who are fully chasing dunya, muqbilin ala dunya, they fall under those conditions. But the people of knowledge, the people of piety, the people of sincerity, they're not concerned. These are for them. If they do all these things, the fuqaha, the scholars of fiqh, jurisprudence, say that for them they're not fasting. Still, he's saying فأما علماء الآخرة فيعنون بالصحة القول. As for the scholars of akhirah, means the scholars that are the sincere scholars who are concerned with akhirah, not with dunya, with eternity. When they speak about the whether a fast is correct or not. They are talking about whether it is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. They're not talking about the outer conditions only. But their concern is they're talking is my fasting accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have I fulfilled all the condition with which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept my fast? And when they talk about acceptance of their fast, they mean الوصول ويعنون بالقبول وبالقبول الوصول إلى المقصود وبالقبول الوصول إلى المقصود. And by acceptance of Allah's of their fast, they mean that they have attained what their goal was. What their main goal is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when they're talking about acceptance, it means that they have attained the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they also understand that المقصود من الصوم التخلق بخلق من أخلاق الله عز وجل وهو الصمدية. And they also understand that one of the aspects of fasting is to take on one of the characters, one of the traits, one of the akhlaq, the manners Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that pertains to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no one else amongst his creation. So, and that is samadiyya, and that is that he is sufficient in himself, in need of no one. He's in need of no eating and no drinking. He's in need of so he's completely sufficient um, in himself. So when a person is fasting and he completely prevents himself from anything that is displeasing to Allah, he is emulating or taking on that characteristic and that manner. And also by fasting, they understand that they are taking as their role model the angels. By leaving not only they're leaving their desires and leaving their hawa, their vain desires and their whims, the likes of their egos. By doing so, they're emulating and taking the angels as their role model as much as they can. Because the angels are completely munazzahun, they're completely sanctified, they're completely above any desire, they don't have any desire. Munazzahun an shahwat, they don't have any desire that they are slaves to. They are fully in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. والإنسان ورتبته فوق رتبة البهائم لقدرته بنور العقل على كسر شهوته. And the Imam is saying that the human being, his station, his level is above the level of animals because of his ability to restrain his desires, for his ability to his ability through the light of his intellect to break his shahwa, break his desire. But he is under the rutba of malaika. But his station, the station of a human being, is below that of angels, because he is لاستيلاء الشهوات عليه وكونه مبتليا بمجاهد. Because still the power of his instinctual desires and his wants and needs have power over him, that he has to struggle to break that power. So he is not fully in submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the angels are. That's why his rutbah is in the middle between the animals and the angels. فكل من همك في الشهوات انحط إلى أسفل السفل. So as much as a human being engages in fulfilling his lowly desire, his vain desires, his instinctual desires, the more he gives into those, the more he descends until he can descend lower than animals. And we know in today's world and at all times that if a person does not have any tazkiyah and completely is under the control of their egoism and their desires, that they can descend way below animals. They're capable of doing things that maybe animals will be shy to do. And every time a human being actually struggles against and defeats his nafs, his ego, um, and prevents it from attaining, from just living for its desires, the more a person is able to struggle and gain the upper hand on his desires and on his egoism, he will ascend إلى أعلى عليين, to the highest stations, and he والتحق بأفق الملائكة, and he will be with the angels. He will be in the level of angels. والملائكة مقربون من الله عز وجل. So he will reach the horizons of angels, and the angels are مقربون من Allah. The angels are مقرب is they are near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not in place but in makana, in their stations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whoever فإن الشبه من القريب قريب. So whoever imitates and behaves in a way um, like of angels who are close and near and dear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will also be near and dear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's emphasizing ليس القرب ثم بالمكان بل بالصفات. So the nearness he's saying is not that of a place. You're near spatially. You're near by the attributes you are dressing yourself with. وإذا كان هذا سر الصوم عند أرباب الألباب وأصحاب القلوب فأي جدول تأخير أكلة وجمع أكلتين عند العشاء. So, and he's asking the question, if this is the secret of fasting for عند أرباب الألباب, for those with understanding, with kernels, lub is mind, intellect, kernel, understanding, وأصحاب القلوب, and those who have clean hearts, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purified hearts. فأي جدول تأخير أكلة وجمع أكلتين عند العشاء. So then what is the use of delaying uh, one meal, delaying lunch till dinner, and then eating dinner and lunch together at dinner? مع الإنهاك في الشهوات الأخرى طوال النهار. مع الانهماك. To do that while يعني the person who is fasting only from eating and drinking and sexual relations while still engaged in all kinds of sinful activities throughout the day. What is the use of stopping, not eating one meal? Nowadays, there's something goes intermittent fasting is a popular thing now for health and for losing weight and so forth. So non-Muslims are doing that. Even people who are atheists may be doing intermittent fasting. They stop themselves from eating. So I mean, the Imam is saying if you're not actually fulfilling the other obligations of refraining from sin and things that are displeasing to Allah, what good is stopping just eating? فأي معنى لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So what is the meaning he's saying for the Prophet's hadith صلى الله عليه وسلم كم من صائم ليس له من صومه إلا الجوع والعطش. How many fasting person does not gain anything out of his fast except being hungry and thirsty. And for this قال أبو الدرداء, one of the companions, Sayyidina Abu الدرداء رضي الله عنه وأرضاه, he said يا حبذا نوم الأكياس وفطرهم كيف لا يعيبون صوم الحمقى وسهرهم. He said, oh, يا حبذا, يعني he's praising Akyas is people of understanding, people, wise people. He said, he's praising the wise people, and he said uh, their sleep and their breaking their fast uh, يعني is at such a high level compared to the fasting of. So he's saying they're breaking fast if they didn't fast, while they're not fasting from eating and drinking, and fasting from engaging in any sin and displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better, and their sleep instead of praying at night is better than the al-hamqa, those who don't have any understanding. Ahmaq in Arabic means stupid, not very smart. Balid yani. He's saying they're not yani, while they're not fasting, their state is much better than those who have no understanding, and just completely um, fasting for them means only to stop eating and drinking and sexual activities. They're continuing throughout the day, backbiting, cheating, all kinds of heedless activities throughout the day. He's saying the non-fast of those with understanding and their sleep is better than the fasting and ibadah, worship at night, of those with no understanding. Took me a while to go about that, but it's sometimes Arabic. Uh, one sentence has so much to yeah. If you break it, you can speak about it for a while. ولذرة من ذوي يقين وتقوى أفضل وأرجح من أمثال الجبال من عبادة من المغترين. And he's saying an atom weight of worship from those with certainty and piety and awareness is better and more. Arjah means in the scale it's heavier from mountains of deeds of worship. Min al mughtarrin, from those who are mughtar is to think you are something. ولذلك قال بعض العلماء كم من صائم مفطر وكم من مفطر صائم. That's why some scholars said, how many fasting how many people who are fasting are actually uh, have they're not fasting, and how many people who are not fasting they are actually fasting. والمفطر الصائم, the one who is not fasting while fasting, is uh, والمفطر الصائم, the one who uh, outwardly breaking his fast but inwardly he is fasting, is the one who safeguards his jawarih, his senses, from sin while eating and drinking. وَالصَّائِمُ الْمُفْطِرُ, as for the one who is fasting outwardly but inwardly he is breaking his fast, هو الذي يجوع ويعطش ويطلق جوارحه, is the one who is hungry and thirsty while his senses, his hands, his feet are engaged in uh, shady activities and haram activities. ومن فهم معنى الصوم وسره علم أن مثل من كف عن الأكل والجماع وأفطر بمخالطة الآثام كمن مسح على عضو من أعضائه في الوضوء 3 مرات فقد وافق في الظاهر العدد إلا أنه ترك المهم وهو الغسل فصلاته مردودة عليه بجهله. And he's giving an example of the two types. He's saying whoever understands the secret of fasting knows that just to stop eating and drinking and to stop sexual activities for a small period of time while still being engaged in sinful activities with one's senses is his similitude, his like is as if a person wants to make wudu. So what he does is he does the action of wiping 3 times, or wiping 3 times um, without actually using water to wash. So outwardly he's going through the action, but his prayer will not be accepted with such a wudu. Unless he is washing, it's not accepted. Because he is ignorantly thinking that he's doing the outer form, going through the motion, as they say, and that should be enough. But the inward reality, the actual conditions that will make his worship acceptable are not there. And the opposite type, the ones who inwardly are always fasting from sin, his condition is as if a person does the actual wudu with washing only one time, which is acceptable. If you wash the limbs, if you wash your arm or the face one time, your wudu is accepted. Although you didn't do 3 times for each wudu, you can go and pray with only washing one time. فصلاته متقبلة إن شاء الله لإحكامه وإن ترك الفضل. Although he left the numbers, the most perfect form, which is to do it 3 times, but still he did the minimum for it to be accepted. And for the one who combines both washing while doing it 3 times, كمن غسل كل عضو فجمع بين الأصل والفضل. So he has combined between the foundation, the principle, the main requirement, and fadl, and the perfection, وهو الكمال. وقد قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الصوم أمانة فليحفظ أحدكم أمانته. Prophet ﷺ said that fasting is a trust, and let a person safeguard his trust. فليحفظ أمانته. ولما تلا قوله عز وجل إن الله يأمركم أن تؤدوا الأمانات إلى أهلها. And when Prophet ﷺ recited that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders you to deliver the trust to its those who it belongs to, and Prophet ﷺ, he put his hand on his ear when he recited that ayah, indicating, and on his sight, he put his hand, he pointed to his ear and to his eyes, to his seeing. فقال السمع أمانة والبصر أمانة. He said hearing is a trust, and seeing is a trust. So Allah gave you this not to engage it in haram things. So to keep that trust is you have to keep those senses within what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولولا أنه من أمانات الصوم لما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم فليقل إني صائم. And if hearing and seeing is not from the trusts of fasting, from the things that one must safeguard, why did Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in the hadith about when somebody is arguing and fighting with you to say فليقل إني صائم, let him say I am fasting, which according to Imam Ghazali is saying that means that I have أودعت لساني الأحفظ فكيف أطلقه, saying that means that he's saying that Prophet ﷺ is indicating فليقل إني صائم means he's saying to that person that my tongue is fasting, I cannot reply to you, which is indicating that the senses fast as well. فإذا قد ظهر أن لكل عبادة ظاهرا وباطنا وقشرا ولبا ولقشرها درجات. From this, Imam Ghazali is saying it is apparent that every ibadah, every worship has an inner and an outer, has a shell and a kernel. ولقشرها درجات ولكل درجة طبقات فإليك الخيرة الآن في أن تقنع بالقشر عن الألباب أو تتحيز إلى غمار أرباب الألباب. And he's saying وَلِقِشْرِهَا درجات, and for the shell, even the shell has many levels. وَلِكُلِّ دَرَجَةٍ طَبَقَات, and for every level there is layers. فَإِلَيْكَ الْخِيرَةِ, now it is up to you. Are you going to be satisfied with the just the shell of this ibadah, or are you going to seek the kernel and to dive إلى غمار أرباب الألباب, and to become one from those of understanding, of real knowledge and understanding. And that concludes, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, the part about the spirit of fasting. ومن الله التوفيق بحرمة الحبيب بحرمة الفاتحة. آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.